Hello and welcome back to the channel, where today we'll be fighting the Battle of Seven Pines outside of Richmond. We are playing Scenario 4 from Multiman Publishing's re-release, I guess, of On to Richmond. It's On to Richmond 2. And like I said, this is Scenario 4. I'm using VASSAL this time just because I think it'll be easier for me to record and don't have to fiddle around with all the markers, because as you probably know, these grand strategy, the Civil War games, they have a lot of ancillary counters that become a bit cumbersome. And to be honest, with the way life is going, I just don't have the time to really be setting everything out on the table. And we got a new cat, and the new cat just absolutely destroys battlefields. He's a menace. He's a chaos demon. And so playing on Vassal, I think, will let me actually get some new videos out, play some more games. And yeah, so this is the Seven Pines scenario. In the Vassal module for On the Richmond 2, there is technically a Seven Pines like scenario setup, but if you select it, it's actually the 7 days scenario. So I've gone in and made the using the sandbox option, I just went ahead and made the Seven Pines scenario. That being said, there are a couple counters that one counter I couldn't find in the counter selection up here, which was the unit is not released counter. Like, you put it over it to signify that you have to wait until turn 2 or something before these units can get activated. So like Walker, Ripley, and McLaws are not released. Ripley can get released on the end of turn 1, but Walker and McLaws can only be released if they get attacked, or if a Union unit moves within 1 hex of them, I think. But other than that, this is kind of how the setup looks. The brown circles are victory point hexes, so that's kind of cool. That's something that you can't really, it's harder to do. You can do it when you have like the plexiglass thing covering the map on the tabletop, but this is a cool feature of Vassal. It makes it super easy to see what the victory point hexes are. And also putting these bridges on the hex side, like under these counters, is pretty convenient too. So yeah, I'm slowly becoming a convert to Vassal. But I mean, you do kind of miss out on the tactile enjoyment of seeing everything on the board, on the table, I mean. So this is a pretty straightforward scenario. 2 turns long. Represents Johnston's attack around Seven Pines and trying to push south of the Chickahominy River when it was flooded, and Sumner's corps was sort of cut off when it was on the north side of the Chickahominy. So Johnston's going to try to attack Keyes's corps. Heinzelman is kind of spread out behind him. The scenario does a good job of representing kind of the fractured nature of Johnston's attack, because on the first activation, so the Confederates automatically get the first activation, but Longstreet's corps can't be activated. So Longstreet, R.H. Anderson, and Pickett can't be activated on the first activation, which leaves D.H. Hill's corps, Huger, and Smith's corps as the only Confederate units that can be activated on the first activation. And so usually you're not going to activate Smith's corps, or at least I've found in the practice games I've done. Smith's corps is just kind of too far out there, and you just waste time, because the first turn is rain, and that of course reduces the movement factor of all these guys. So getting him from the north side of Richmond to the east side of Richmond takes at least 2 or 3 activations. So usually the first activation for the Confederates is Hugie or D.H. Hill's Corps. The big question on the first activation is whether to attack Casey's division from 4th Corps with Garland's Demi division. So that's kind of the scenario. Like I said, it's only 2 turns long. It's good to get back into it. I'm leaving this up here, this Union Activate Leader action, because I always forget this and on to Richmond. But depending on the rolls, this could go really quickly, or it could take a little bit longer depending on who gets the activations. If the Union get a string of activations and they can reinforce this area or retreat Casey's division, then the scenario kind of swings in favor of the Union. But if the Confederates get a couple good activations and can hit Keyes's corps while it's kind of in 3 different hexes, then things are looking pretty good for the Confederates. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here we are, turn 1, activation 1. Confederates get the first activation because of the scenario rules, but they can't activate Longstreet's Corps, which means Pickett can't be activated. So we only have Hugie, D.H. Hill's Corps to choose from. Smith's Corps too, we could technically activate, but he's kind of too far out of the fight because it is raining. So movement is quite difficult, which means doing a march attack. So basically what I want to do is I want to use D.H. Hill's Corps to boot out Casey so that Johnston can bring in Longstreet's Corps through Old Tavern and attack Nagley. Because if we allow the Union to consolidate their position on these 2 hexes, it becomes really difficult for us to boot them out. So we want to attack Keyes's Corps while it is out here on its own. So we're going to use D.H. Hill to assault Casey. So to do that, we, of course, increase Garland's fatigue. We roll for command. 4 is fine. 6 minus 4 is 2. Enough to get Garland's Demi division into the fight. And next, we come over here to the combat chart. And flank, no flank. Artillery modifiers, 1 minus 4 is a -3. A -3 in rough or hill terrain is -1, but we have to roll a die first. So it is an even. So the modifier is U. So we have a -1 for that. So we're at -1. It is an assault for +1, so we're at 0. No ratio modifier because the odds are 1 to 1. Tactical modifier is a +2 because of D.H. Hill to Casey's tactical rating, but it is an attack in a rain turn. So we're at +1 overall for the Confederates. And now we come up to our die and we get the 2d6, and it's a even, but then a +1 for the Confederates. So it is for the for Garland's Demi division. It's a 17 at a +1 is a 1 and disordered. And I think, yep, here's the summary of combat results. But so it's a 1, so he gets 1 strength point off. And he is disorganized, and he gets 3 fatigue points. Casey also, I believe he will get 1D, so he'll get 3 fatigue points. He'll be disorganized, and he has to go down 1. So not the best start for Hill. He would have liked to have gotten a better result and booted Casey out. Casey, I think, is going to be fine with that result. But that's going to be the first activation complete. So now we come up here and we roll for the second activation initiative. Confederates get it. So I think we will activate Longstreet. Longstreet leader activation. He's going to march his units. So we roll 1d6. It's a good roll. That's a 6. But because it's on to Richmond, it's a 1d6 plus 1 instead of 1d6 plus 2. So it's a 7. So I'll move everybody and bring you back to show you where everybody's at after I move them. All right, so I contemplated, there was really no way for Anderson to attack Nagley, so I didn't really contemplate much, but we did move Anderson's demi-division up to face Nagley. Pickett's coming in, and hopefully in the next activation, he can join the rest of Longstreet's corps here. And the artillery reserve too, would be nice to have them up. So now we roll for the next activation. It is the Confederates again. This is exactly what the Confederates needed. It wasn't the best start, but now that they have another activation, we're going to be able to get Pickett up. So it's another 7. So he'll have plenty of movement to get into this hex, even though it's really highly stacked. So he'll get another piece of fatigue, and then we'll be able to move the artillery reserve. So it's 2, 4 plus, where is... So it's a 2 plus another 2 because of the overstack. So everybody, now we have Longstreet's corps in Old Tavern ready to attack Nagley. Just gonna, this obviously doesn't matter, but I do like restacking everything. So now I have to give artillery another fatigue, and Anderson only moved once, so he's good. Now we can roll for initiative, and this will really tell, because if the Union get initiative, then that's going to really spoil this plan. But nope, it's the Confederates, so we're going to try it. We're going to... Now the question is, do we grand assault Casey, or do we assault Casey, I mean? Probably not, because Garland's a fatigue 4. So it's going to just be Longstreet's corps that is going to be doing the attack, and they're going to attack Nagley. So we're going to attack with, I think, yeah, we're just going to attack with everything we have. So we're going to increase everybody's fatigue. If I can get everybody, there we go. So everybody's fatigue is increased. Longstreet's command is a 6. A 6 minus 1 is 5, so everybody can participate. And we don't really need to do a grand assault because there's nobody else to bring into the fight. And so we're just going to move on with this assault. And while I do some math, so the Confederates have 31 to the Union 5. So it's a 6-1. So this is going to hurt, I think. Nagley, I'm sorry, bud, but this might hurt. So the artillery modifier is a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 0. So it's a plus 9. So it's a plus 8 or more, and it is in rough terrain, so it's a plus 1, but we have to do the die roll. It is even, so the modifier is used, so we're at a plus 1. So a plus 1, the flanks doesn't apply. Assault for a plus 2. Ratio modifier, it was a 6-1, so a plus 5, so we're at a plus 7. Tactical modifier, 4-1 is a plus 3, so a plus 10, and minus 1, so plus 9 overall. So Longstreet's corps is really going to hammer Nagley hard, I think. So plus 9, so it's a 2 for the Union and a 4 for the Confederates. So plus 9 is a 13. Minus 2 is 11. So plus 11. I think this is one of the highest. Yeah, it's over. So I think Nagley is going to be just eliminated. So he's a 5. It's a 4 DER route. So he loses 4 manpower. He is disorganized. He is fatigued. And he is routed, demoralized 2. So he gets a demoralized 2 marker. And he has to route 4 to 6 hexes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Nagley is pretty much done. And now 31. So over here, over 10. So he just advances. And that's the assault completed. So now on the victory point. All right, sorry. I'm still getting used to the VASSAL thing, so I think in OBS, but I don't have the VP track set for capture on OBS, so I just had to adjust the victory point markers because each side gets victory points for manpower destructions. Anyway, so Nagley's out of it. Johnston and Longstreet's Corps attacked Fair Oaks and won a pretty big victory there. Now it's up to Sumner and Heintzelman to come to Keyes' rescue, basically. So let's activate, or let's do the next activation. And it's the Confederates again. And they're going to have a choice, I think. Does Johnston just assault with Longstreet again onto Couch? Or does he press forward? He could go to Golding's farm and up this way to try to get to Heintzelman. But I think we're going to just assault with, we're going to assault with Longstreet's Corps onto Couch. So again, we're going to increase everybody's fatigue and roll for command. 3, 6 minus 3 is 3, so everybody's in. And we're at 31 to 12. So this time it's a 2 to 1. So that's a little bit better ratio, I think, at least from the Union perspective. So no flank. We're at a 9 to 4, so a +5 for artillery. A +5 in rough is no effect. And we're assault action for a +1 ratio modifier. So 2 to 1 is a +1. So we're at a +2. Tactical modifier is a 4 to 3, so a +1. And we're so we're at +3. And attacking in a rain is -1 for a +2 overall. So 2d6. Ooh, so it's a 6 to 1 +5. So we'll do the Couch first. So it's a 12 on a +5 is a 3dr. So I'll get everything taken care of and I'll bring you back to show you what it looks like. All right, so over here with Couch, he is now disorganized, demoralized 1, at 3 fatigue. Johnston and Longstreet, so he took 1 manpower loss from Pickett, but everything else was fine. They just advanced and they ended their movement, or ended their activation. Earned another victory, another 3 victory points for the Union. And now Johnston controls Fair Oak Station and 7 Pines. And Casey is kind of hung out to dry here. So now the Union really got to get their activations, because if the Confederates keep getting activations, then they're really going to be in trouble. The Union, that is. So let's do our next activation. And again, it's a Confederate activation. Good thing for the Union is Longstreet's corps is pretty fatigued out. We could use Anderson to attack Casey, but I think instead we're going to activate Hugie and try to get him in a position to attack Casey. So Hugie gets a 4, but a Confederate infantry in onto Richmond is just a 1d6, so he's just a 4. On the toll road is a 1.5, so I'm gonna get him moved, and I'll bring him back to show you where he is. And so that was pretty easy. Hugie just moved 2 hexes along the Richmond and York River Railroad line to try to get to this hex here, thereabouts. So now it's another activation. Oh, sorry. Hugie does get a fatigue. Next activation roll, or initiative roll, is a tie. Ties go to the Confederates. So Hugie will activate again. This time he gets a 3. So that'll just be enough to move 1, basically, because of the rain. So he increases his fatigue again, and now he's ready to attack Casey. Another tie goes to the Confederates. Sometimes I'm not sure about VASSAL's randomization, but anyway. So Hugie can't do, obviously he's not a leader, so he just has to march and try to attack Casey. So let's see what movement he gets. He gets a 1 for a minimum of 2. So he can't do any kind of, he's going to have to do a, well, it's going to cost 2 to get in there. So we're not going to, well, we have to activate. So I'm not sure. I just tried looking it up, but I think his fatigue still goes up even though we're not going to move him, because 2 is not enough to really, we're going to have to do a column of route attack, and it's, or no, we're not even going to do that because it's can't be declared if a unit's remaining movement allowance is 0. So to get into here, it'd be 2, and then it'd be his movement allowance would be 0. So he wouldn't be able to do a column of route attack. So he's just gonna stay there. I guess they marched around in circles. They got decamped, went for a march down the road, and then turned around, got right back into camp in the rain. So the next initiative, Confederate again. And oh, I should do a I'm gonna roll for extended march, but it's a 5, so we're good. Anyway, so another Confederate activation. I think maybe we'll activate Smith. So +1, so it's a 2. That's not great. Well, I'll move Smith and show you where he ends up. So Smith just took advantage of the 1 hex minimum and moved his whole corps 1 hex. Now the next initiative, and finally the Union get a chance at the game. So we have some big questions here. So first of all, we rolled a 6 on the initiative, which means we may select any number of eligible units when we activate a leader. Now, basically, Keyes' corps is kind of out of it. We could activate just Casey's division, but we're going to be going through zones of control, and that will, going from zone to control causes manpower reduction if you're already disorganized. So I think just leaving him there will be the biggest way, the way to be the biggest thorn, and see if we can get somebody up to Fair Oak Station, maybe, or at least Golding's Farm. if we activate Sumner, he has to go across these minor river bridges, these pontoon bridges. And when he does so, according to the special scenario rules, he has to roll a die. And basically, there's a 50% chance, I think, or um, a roll of a 4 or less means the bridge is intact, but a 5 or a 6, so not quite 50%, but a roll of a 5 or a 6 means the bridge collapses, and that bridge can't be used anymore. So there's a chance that Sumner might be stuck on the north side of the Chickahominy River. If we activate Heinzelman, Hooker's division is out of command, but Jameson's brigade is not. So he could activate Heinzelman. So he's got Kearney's division and Jameson's brigade. Heinzelman could move. And sorry, just to clarify, Heinzelman couldn't transfer to Jameson's brigade and then select Hooker because you select your units before you get to transfer your leader. So it's just going to be Kearney and Jameson on this leader activation. And a 2, that's not great for an infantry leader, is a 1d6 in OTR. So basically they're going to be moving 1 hex because it's raining. So we're going to increase their fatigue. I think we're going to move up this way and here. Not the best move for the Union. Hopefully we can at least set up a flank here and get Sumner's Corps maybe down to Savage Station behind Heinzelman, and that will at least threaten the flank of the Confederates and prevent them from moving down the turnpike and just attacking the railroad bridge. I don't know. We'll see. Next initiative. Union again. This time it's a 5, so we can only select 2 eligible units, but I don't think that will be a problem because, again, Hooker is way the heck out of command. But I think it might be time to try Sumner, get Sumner's Corps across. So first, so he gets a 6 movement allowance for his units. So we're going to try moving Sedgwick across, but to do so, first we have to roll for this bridge. So we roll a 1, the bridge is intact, so now we have 6 movement points, and now we don't have to roll for this bridge again. So we're going to do 2, 4, 2, 4, and then end in Savage Station. That'll be good. And now Richardson, oh, sorry, let me get fatigue. Now Richardson, I think he's going to do 2, 4. Okay, so Richardson's going to try to use this bridge. So we have to roll for that. Oh no, a 6. That means this bridge is destroyed and Richardson can't use that bridge anymore. All right, so this bridge is destroyed. So Richardson's going to have to go 2, 4. Doesn't have enough movement points to get into the hex with Sumner. So that's the Union activation complete. Now let's roll for another initiative. This time it's the Confederates. I don't know. I guess we could activate Smith. So he gets a 4 plus 1 is a 5. I'll move everybody and show you where he's at. So Smith's Corps with Hood's division made it to Hood's demi division. Sorry, made it to through halfway through Richmond. Whiting's demi division is still in Richmond at the station, it looks like. And so he's going to be coming down this way along the pike, hopefully. Next initiative is another Confederate initiative. So we will roll again. He rolls another 4. So I'll move everybody and show you where they ended up. So Smith's Corps moved along the pike. They passed their extended march checks. And now they're kind of sort of in the fight. Maybe for day 2 they'll be better off. Next initiative is a Union initiative. I think we are going to activate Sumner again, try to get him in a blocking position right here. So he gets a 3 movement, and that's it, just a straight 3, which is enough for 1 hex basically in this weather. So he's gonna just move, who's this? Sedgwick's division. And Richardson is going to just do the minimum, 1 hex minimum to join Heinzelman's corps. And now it's looking pretty good. Now I think the Union are a little bit happier with the outcome here, or at least the position. They gave up, or they lost Fair Oak Station, Seven Pines, but now they have a good second line set up. And if they don't move anymore, they won't get exhausted, I don't think. So they'll be pretty set for next turn. Next initiative is Confederate, and we're gonna activate Smith. We're gonna activate D.H. Hill actually to try to get Rhodes' demi division, maybe up to here. Prepare him. No, maybe up to here. Well, we'll see what we get. Well, that kind of moots a lot of those points, so we only get 1 movement. Next activation. Another Confederate activation. Tempted to move Rhodes into this hex. So if we activate a leader, we have enough to get Rhodes into Seven Pines. I'm afraid if we put it here, this 17 manpower division will attack Rhodes. He would be pretty vulnerable. So I think if we move him into Seven Pines, D.H. Hill can tackle Casey while Longstreet and Hugie kind of go after Sumner and Heinzelman. So we'll move him into here, increase his fatigue, and that'll be that. Union activation now. Let's try to get Hooker into it. So Hooker, oh, he rolls a 6. That's pretty good. So 2, 4, 6. That gets him into the fight. Next activation is Confederate. I'm thinking we move Smith down the Charles City Road. It's just pretty congested in here. He won't get very far. So let's see what he gets. He gets a 4. +1 for the leader is a 5. So Hood will be able to go 1.5, 3, 4.5. Increases his exhaustion. +1 on this die roll. 4 is fine. And then Whiting would be able to follow him up. +1 on this die roll. He's fine on his extended march as well. Next initiative, Union initiative. Jameson is kind of, well, we could activate Heinzelman and get everybody. Yeah, let's activate Heinzelman. It's a 6. It's pretty good. So we don't need to activate Kearney. We don't really need to activate Hooker. I mean, actually, if we could, let's put Hooker in here. We're pretty safe on this front, I think. And then let's put Jameson. 2, 4, 6. How many units are in here? There are 6.5. So it would be an extra movement point. So it would be 2.5. Yeah, okay. It'd be like 2.5, 4, 5, 6 to get to cover Fisher's Ford. And that will at least slow down Smith, hopefully, and give Keyes' corps time to recover and maybe get down here. I'm afraid of Fisher's Ford because this has the opportunity to outflank us, especially on the next turn, because the next turn there's no rain. So next initiative though, Confederate initiative. I'm thinking Hugie exits this zone of control. Yeah, let's have Hugie exit this zone of control. Maybe to get up here. Well, let's see what he rolls. A 3, yeah, that's not going to be enough to attack. So it'd be all of his movement points just to get here because it's an extra 1 to get out of the Zoc. I mean, we're gonna be increasing our fatigue anyway, so Hughie just needs to get out there, I guess. Extended march. Ooh, that might be something. Let me check. So that's a +1, a 6. Yeah, he's disorganized. All right, that was probably my worst move of the game so far, but it's Hughie, so it kind of is within character, I think. Anyway, next initiative is Confederate, but I think everybody's done. So it automatically goes over to the Union, and we get to use as many eligible units. But it doesn't matter because I think the Union is also going to pass, ending the turn. So now we go into the recovery phase. Units at fatigue level 0. Definitely don't have any of those. Units at fatigue level 0, 1, or 2 may forward. Don't need to do that. 0 or 1 may be affected as follows. Unit at fatigue. So 0 or 1, do we have any of those that are disorganized? No. Nope. So units at fatigue level 3 or 4 flip to their exhausted flat sides. So a nice thing about VASSAL is to do all of these exhausted. It's just Control F. So we just highlight all these guys who are on 3 or 4. So here it's everybody but Rhodes. They are fine. They don't get exhausted. They definitely get exhausted. He does not get exhausted. Exhausted. Okay. And units at fatigue level 1 or more lose 3 fatigue levels. So, nice thing about this is we just select all. Let me make sure I get the Control W. So we select all, and then we just do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we are good. So you'll see anybody who is at fatigue level 4 is still at fatigue level 1. Pretty much all of the Confederates are exhausted, while the Union is still pretty fresh. Now we go to the special scenario rules. Walker's Brigade in the turn indication phase of turn 1. We roll a die on a roll of 1 or 2. Walker's Brigade is released. A 1. So Walker's Brigade is released. So we get to use him. We'll have to remember to use him because, again, I don't have the released counters on this VASSAL mod. So I don't know how to mark that. I'm going to write a sticky note, though, the old-fashioned way. Or actually, I guess I can just Walker released. And on turn 2, Ripley's brigade also gets released. So basically everybody but McClaw's demi division is released. And that concludes turn 1. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to cut the video here to make the upload manageable. Then I'll come back for turn 2 and finish this scenario up. But I think it's pretty much in the balance. I think right now maybe the Confederates have a minor victory because they control these 2 victory hexes and they've destroyed quite a few Union manpower. But I think there is room for a Union counterattack here, or at least to stem the bleeding, inflict some damage on the Confederates. We'll have to see what my plans are when I come back to it. But until now, thanks for watching and hope you tune in for the next episode. Bye.